comes to talk. All right, we got a lot to discuss, a lot to cover. Just an amazing thing happened, just came out today with Robert Kennedy Jr. And I want to talk about it. I'm going to share it with you. And then I'm going to share with you something as well that President Trump says that shows the incredible genius of President Trump. And one of the reasons he brought Robert Kennedy Jr. on board with him. And, you know, here we are. I mean, this is it. The election is right around the corner. This is, I know they say this at every election, this is the most important election of our lifetime. They always are important because it's the one that you're dealing with right now. The past elections are over. The future elections, you don't even know who's going to be. So the election that we're always living through is the most important election because it's the one we're going through at that moment. But this is another level, all right? This is a completely another level with President Trump. This is an election that is going to decide the future of not just our country, but of all of Western civilization. No getting around that. I know that seems heavy, but that is what is going on. And what Robert Kennedy has dropped out there is amazing. But I want to go back just a bit. Theo Von interviewed President Trump. And it was, a couple weeks back, week or so ago. It was a very good interview. And I want to play this one clip of the interview. It is of Theo Von. He's asking, and this leads into what I'm going to share with about Robert Kennedy. It leads into what Robert Kennedy said and what's going on. Because, the big question is, why do they hate Trump so much? Why would anyone be opposed to making America great again? Doesn't seem to make sense, right? Why would anyone be against making America great again? Who would be against that? Well, obviously, a lot of people are, okay? So let me first play this clip. This is Theo Von and his interview with President Trump. Okay, here we go.
It's pretty clear that the establishment doesn't like you, I would say. What do you think?
Well, I think the people like me.
Oh, yeah, the people.
We're leading now in all the polls. We're leading, and Rasmussen just came out a little while. Rasmussen's a very highly regarded poller. We're leading by 5 points. Rasmussen poll. And others also, and we're doing well. But I think the people like me a lot. We won, and then we did.
No doubt.
So we won in 2016, and then we did much better in 2020. Much better. Got millions and millions more votes. And
why does the establishment keep trying to sink you? Like, what is it that they are so afraid of?
Well, in some cases, the things we're talking about right now, they want to sell product that I'm not interested in. They want to have certain boats and certain chips and certain planes and certain everything bought. Pharma is another one that's, interesting.
Or do they push back against you think?
Yeah, I think they do. Well, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that they do. In one way, that's a positive thing politically, because when you can show that they push back, the voters seem to like it. But we have a lot of popularity. We have a lot of people that want to see me come back and win because we had a great time. We had the greatest economy in history.
Okay, CR, $3 super sticker. Thank you. So President Trump here is saying they hate me because there's a lot of crap they want to buy that I don't want to buy. Planes, a boat, a ship, a product, right? And really, when that interview happened, I shared the audio. A lot of us talked about it. Andrew Breeden, $50 super chat. Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the great work and impact for MAGA. Well, thank you, Andrew, for that $50 super chat. And everyone, if you could thank him, I'd appreciate it. And I'll keep doing what I do. So when President Trump said that to Theo Von, we all talked about it. I played the clip on the air, and I said, this is it. This is the military-industrial complex. It's a military-industrial complex. Why do you think we were at war for 20 years in Afghanistan? And as soon as this 20-year war ended in Afghanistan, I want you to think about it. There were men and young women in combat that were born after 9/11 in Afghanistan. Isn't that crazy? By the way, what were the ages of the 13 that were lost at the botched withdrawal of Biden and Kamala? How old were they, the youngest? So why does a war go on for 20 years? We can't beat a bunch of guys that lived in caves and get around on camels. Vietnam, 10 years. We couldn't beat a bunch of people that don't even have shoes in Vietnam. No, they don't want these wars to end because of the military-industrial complex. And Donald Trump, Donald Trump, I'll get to Robert Kennedy in a minute, and Donald Trump turned their entire world upside down because everyone else who's been president, and we'll just stick with since the Second World War because that's when this stuff has happened, President Trump is the only person that came to the presidency that did not come to the presidency to enrich themselves. Tiger, just in a super chat from India, welcome. I don't know what your currency is over there, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tiger from India. But he's the first president to come into the presidency without trying to elevate or enrich themselves. He's the first one that's come in and been worth less money than when he went in, right? These other guys, a lot of them inherited like G.W. Bush and stuff, but most of them are like Biden. Biden got into politics to be corrupt. He did. Greg Kelly on Newsmax a couple years ago had a series of interviews that he shared on Newsmax of Biden when he first went into the Senate, and he told this story that he thought made him look good, but it made him look like a criminal. Biden said when he first went to Congress, he wanted to get on wanted to open up the books, and they said, you haven't been here long enough. Come back in 10 years. And then, So most of them are like Biden. They get into politics to get rich off of the government. And the number one way they do that is through the military-industrial complex, but there's other things as well. So Robert Kennedy Jr. posted this online. And just keep it. I'll just play the Trump clip again, and then I'll play the Robert Kennedy right after.
It's pretty clear that the establishment doesn't like you, I would say. What do you think?
Well, I think the people like me.
Oh, yeah, the
because
people.
We're leading now in all the polls. We're leading, and Rasmussen just came out a little while. Rasmussen's a very highly regarded poller. We're leading by 5 points. Rasmussen poll, and others also, and we're doing well. But I think the people like me a lot. We won, and then we did.
No doubt.
So we won in 2016, and then we did much better in 2020. Much better. Got millions and millions more votes. And
why does the establishment keep trying to sink you? Like, what is it that they are so afraid of?
In some cases, the things we're talking about right now, they want to sell product that I'm not interested in. They want to have certain boats and certain chips and certain planes and certain everything bought. Pharma is another one that's, interesting.
Okay, see? Donors in the military-industrial complex. Okay, now this is Robert Kennedy Jr., and he lays out everything. This is, and you put the two of them together, and you're like, that's what's going on here.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very bad.
Oh, by the way, obviously he's talking about the war in Ukraine. This fake proxy war we have going on in Ukraine is what Robert Kennedy's talking about.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another $60 billion. But the big, big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, of extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
Wow. I mean, that's Robert Kennedy Jr. That's amazing. I mean, you put the two of them together, boom, that's it. Yeah, that's right. Trump, that's right. And Trump's a threat to all of that. And what's going on in Ukraine, you think it's just a coincidence that this war in Ukraine started like 5 minutes after the 20-year war in Afghanistan ended? Of course not. It's also not an accident that they left behind all the equipment. Remember how hard Milley wanted to leave back the planes and everything? Because they got to buy all that stuff over again for the military, from the donors, from the military industrial complex. It's really sick. It's really sick what's going on. But you know, if you follow what's been going on over the weekend, this has been just a disastrous weekend for Kamala Harris. It is over. I mean, Tim Walz, if you listen to my podcast earlier, I detailed a lot of things with Tim Walz, which you don't want to miss. It was a very good podcast. Uploaded it today around noon with my wife, Kathy. The Brian Craig Show podcast. I uploaded here on my YouTube channel, and it's also on all the podcast platforms. But then something else came out with Tim Walz. His motorcade was in an accident, and people got hurt, broken bones, and he didn't even stop to see if people were okay. He just went on to his event like nothing happened, Tim Walz. The guy is a sociopath. He's completely insane. He's further gone than she is in many ways. Remember that lady had a medical emergency at the Trump rally the other day? Not only did Trump stop the rally like he always does, he went to the back and checked on the woman, talked to her even, and made sure she was okay. Not Tim Walz. He doesn't give a darn. He just, boom, went on to his event. Didn't even stop to see if anybody... What he did was almost a hit and run, really. Well, you know, what do you expect, a DUI that he had? He didn't seem to care about who he hurt when he was driving drunk either. Oh, Trump cares? Absolutely. Yeah, well, you know, Tim Walz's brother is warning people not to vote for him, says he's dangerous. So if the man's own brother says don't vote for him, you got to listen to that, because you don't know him, but his brother does, and he says he's dangerous, don't vote for him. That's crazy. That's crazy. I've never heard of someone's own brother disowning them in a national election. Have you? No. No. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. You'll enjoy my content. I promise you. If you love Trump, you'll really love my channel. If you don't, watch me long enough, you will be red-pilled. And, by the way, all this talk of we always hear about red pilling. Somebody wakes up, they become a conservative, they become MAGA, red pill. Have you known anyone to be blue pilled? No. Ever know anyone to be blue pilled? Why does it only go one direction? Right. Exactly. I don't know anyone who goes around saying they were blue pilled. Yeah. No, I've never heard of someone saying they were blue pilled. So Kamala Harris, she got a new accent. She was in Detroit. She's trying to sound black again, I guess. I don't know. Listen.
You better thank a union member.
You better thank a union. What accent is that?
You better thank a union member.
Does anyone know what that accent is?
You better thank a union member.
Well, she grew up in Canada. I don't think that's a Canadian accent.
You better thank a union member. For the 5-day work week, you better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
What the hell? Could you imagine? She grew up in Canada. She's born in Berkeley, California. Where do these accents come from? Could you imagine if when Trump speaks, he all of a sudden, his accent changed based on the crowd? Right? Could you imagine what would they say? I know Hillary used to do the same thing. But what would the press say if Trump did that? This is just bizarre.
You better thank a union member for...
You better thank a union member. I don't know what that accent. Do you know what that accent is? Anyone have any ideas? He doesn't change his accent for the crowd. Exactly. Exactly.
And let me say, every person in our nation has benefited from that work. Everywhere I go, I tell people, look, you may not be a union member. You better thank a union member.
See, she changed the accent in mid-sentence. She was talking in her normal accent, and then all of a sudden she started talking in that kind of way. I don't know what kind of accent that is. I don't know what that is. I mean, it's another one. Here's another clip of
You
it.
better thank a union member.
No, I don't recognize that accent. Hoffa, a Jimmy Hoffa accent? Yeah. South Carolina. No, she was in Detroit. She is embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah, so Tim Walz, his motorcade gets into an accident, several vehicles damaged, several members of the press were injured. One member in the motorcade had a broken arm. That's pretty bad. I've been in a lot of accidents. I've never broken a bone. I've totaled cars in car accidents, never broken an arm. Several members of the press in Walz's motorcade were injured. One person broke an arm. Tim Walz did not stop and immediately carried on to the event like nothing happened. What do you think JD Vance would have done? What do you think Trump would have done? They would have stopped and made sure everyone... Now, they may not have let Trump stop, okay, on the side of the road. I get that because, they just shot him. But he would have made sure they were okay. He wouldn't have sped off and did a hit and run. And JD Vance, the same thing. Democrats got it so easy. I mean, they have like complete immunity. They can do whatever it is that they want, and they get away with it. They just get away with it. So, and then Megyn Kelly, she has this historic interview that she did, but she screwed up because she didn't have the guys mic'd up properly for this interview. Somebody screwed up. I don't know who did it, but she did an interview with a group of veterans who served with Tim Walz. Did you guys see this? This is in the post-millennial. And if you guys are not familiar with the post-millennial, it's a very good conservative website out of Canada. They got all the news. Veterans who served with Tim Walz joined Megyn Kelly to speak out about Tim Walz's military record and false statements during his stolen valor scandal. Megyn Kelly introduced the controversy, the accusations of stolen valor against Tim Walz, and then introduced 4 veterans who served with Tim Walz before his political career. Some of the men in the group were command sergeant majors, the position Walz has falsely claimed multiple times over the years to have held. And this is, I don't know who on her team did not mic these guys up properly, but they weren't mic'd up, unfortunately, very well. But it's still a good segment, and let me play a clip of it. There we go.
Why did you come forward?
It is morally indefensible. He didn't care. It was all about him. He's a military impersonator.
These are guys that served with him. He's a military impersonator. He doesn't care. It's all about him.
Morally indefensible. He didn't care. It was all about him. He's a military impersonator.
I don't understand how he could do it morally, or you got absolutely no integrity.
The rumor went across the state that he had quit, and it was like, who the hell does that? I mean, it was just unbelievable that a CSM abandoned his troops, 500 soldiers basically, but beyond that, there's 1,000 parents out there that expect that person to lead those people into combat.
He's a habitual liar. He lies about everything. He lies about stuff that doesn't make sense. You're taking a piece of their thunder and you're trying to capture it and put it in a bottle for yourself and use that for your own benefit.
He basically said, I've got better things to do. Go pick somebody else to go on a mission. Well, if you sold out your guard unit and abandoned them, I mean, what are you going to do at the national level?
Wow, that's a good one, right? If you abandon your unit, what are you going to do at the national level? Oh, my goodness.
What are you going to do at the national level?
Fear is a reaction. Bravery is a decision. And Walz has made the wrong decision. He's not brave. I call him a coward because he is.
Wow, I mean, I don't know why Megyn Kelly didn't have those guys mic'd up, but what they say is good. The 4 veterans that appeared with Megyn included retired Command Sergeant Major Tom Behrens. He's a retired Sergeant First Class Tom Schilling, retired Command Sergeant Major Paul Herr, and Rodney Town, who was a peer of Walz and is a retired First Sergeant. Megyn Kelly asked the veterans about his career and wanted to know if Tim Walz had known that he would be deployed to Iraq in the spring of 2005. Behrens was the one who took his position because he abandoned his unit and told Megyn Kelly, I spent 34 years in the Army, almost 13 of those as Sergeant Major. He added that if he were to leave right before deployment like Tim Walz has done to his men, that's a morale crusher. It screws away at the fabric of the military and its ability to do its mission. It may not be legally wrong. It is morally indefensible. I mean, this is, all the elections I have followed, I have never seen so much scandal around a vice president before, ever. And John Edwards got a woman pregnant on the campaign, okay? And this is worse than that. That was like one incident. The 4 men all agreed that Tim Walz would have known he was going to be deploying to Iraq before he got his official orders. When Megyn asked the vets what they thought as a peer to Walz at the time, Town added, I don't know how he could live with himself after he did that to his soldiers. That military unit, that is the same thing as a family. That's your military family. He said that Walz turned his back on his men, recalling that he asked at the time, how could he just quit? Town said that the move showed that Walz lacks integrity. Schilling, commenting on Tim Walz implying that he took weapons into combat, said this, quote, what he said about going into combat, that's sacred because people lose their lives, limbs, sometimes they have kids at home. The 4 veterans and their experiences with Tim Walz did not think that he honored his role in the military. When Walz retired His position was reduced from command sergeant major to master sergeant as he did not complete the qualifications for being permanently appointed as command sergeant major. They all wanted him to apologize publicly for making false statements about his military record. Behrens previously wrote in a letter about Tim Walz. In early 2005, a warning order was issued to the 1st 125th Field Artillery Battalion, which included the position Walz was serving in, to prepare to be mobilized for active duty for deployment to Iraq. On May 16th, 2005, he quit, leaving the battalion and its soldiers hanging without its senior non-commissioned officer as the battalion prepared for war. And that's why they call him a coward. Oh, my goodness. I mean, it doesn't get worse than this. I mean, this guy is as bad gets. No, it's all true. I mean, these are guys that served with him. Okay, the one guy was the one they had to get to replace him because he abandoned the men. And some of the guys, sadly, when they got deployed, some of them didn't make it back. No. He's a real lowlife. He's a real lowlife. You got to wonder how did he end up the choice, right? Oh, Vance is a lot. What's wrong with Vance? Vance is like perfect. He's great. He's like got a whole Rocky story background. How's his stolen valor? He keeps saying that he was in the combat zone when he wasn't. He said multiple times for years that he was in Afghanistan. He wasn't. He also lied about his rank, but the bigger problem is he lied about being in the combat zone when he wasn't. That's stolen valor. Exactly. Now, President Trump gave an interview, and he talked about how Barron found out that they shot him. Did you guys see this? This is, oof. In an interview with Mark Levin, President Trump said that his 18-year-old son was outside having a tennis lesson when the terrifying scene unfolded at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump said Barron found out that he had gotten shot because someone ran up to him yelling, "Barron, Barron, your father's been shot." Well, who was that? They didn't break the news very softly. Barron then ran after his mother, Melania, to ask her what had happened, Trump said, adding that Melania was actually watching it live. Isn't that something? Trump says Barron, who's a good tennis player, was on the court when he first was told about the assassination attempt. He said, "Mom, what's going on? What's going on?" He explained that Melania had been watching the rally live and was shocked when she heard shots ringing out and saw him duck to the ground behind the podium. Melania couldn't believe it. She was actually watching it live. Can you imagine? And then I get up and I let people know I was okay, he said, noting how he stood up, raised his fist in the air and shouted, "Fight, fight, fight." I let people know I was okay, but it was a hit. It was a big hit. Oh, man. I'd like to know who this is that ran up to him and says, "Your dad's been shot," screaming at him. Couldn't they have broken into him just a little bit better? But you know, if you look at what's happened since they shot Trump, since he was shot by this Democrat donor, look at the people that have come out and been supportive of Trump. Elon Musk endorsed him. Robert Kennedy endorsed him. And even Zuckerberg at Facebook released that letter this week talking about what the Biden regime, the pressure they put on him and to cover things up and everything. And Zuckerberg did not have to do it. He didn't have to do that. It was kind of out of the blue. Why'd he do it? You know, and you know, it's like Elon Musk said. They shot him. Doesn't everyone agree that the deep state, the government, had something to do with that? Yeah, everybody knows it. And what Elon Musk said is when Trump got back up, it was badass. And it was. Even Zuckerberg's commented on that. Yeah, it's crazy. When you have red-pilled Zuckerberg to a certain extent, That's a pretty amazing thing. By the way, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. Janine, a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Janine. I don't know where you're going to see some MAGA tears. I don't see any MAGA tears. I mean, I was crying when they shot Trump, weren't you guys? But I don't know if you consider those MAGA tears. I mean, well, Trisha, you shouldn't be saying things like that. Should not be saying things like that. It's a terrible thing to say. That's the tolerant left for you right there. Come on, a sicko. So Kamala had an event. I know they like to call them rallies, but they're not really rallies. I mean, they're like meetups, right? This is Fox News reporting from the Kamala speech.
To you. Molly and Brian, as Vice President Kamala Harris arrived to this event here in Detroit a few minutes ago, she was greeted by several groups of pro-Palestinian protesters. Here's video of one of those groups we saw on our way in this morning. Several groups of a few dozen. So it is clear this pressure to end the war and strike a deal with Hamas is coming from multiple sides now. And it's not one the Harris campaign is wanting to spend a lot of time on out on the campaign trail.
Okay, so Fox, the guys inside the very small venue that Kamala's coming out to speak at in Detroit. It's the same one where she had that weird accent I played earlier. And then they cut away outside and they show the protesters outside. And these protesters are not MAGA people, not Republicans. They're leftists, right? These Palestinian Hamas jihadi supporters and things like this. There are more people protesting Kamala outside than inside the venue waiting for her to speak. How can that be a credible campaign when you have more protesters than you do attendees to the event? Never seen that before. I mean, not in those kind of numbers. Pretty brutal. Yeah. It says everything you need to know. Irony Rose, new member to the channel. Welcome. Remember, you members, you get your name in green, so you stay down in the chat, and there's a bunch of emojis there that are available to just the members of the channel. And my wife makes those emojis. She's added a few new ones, including the new JD Vance emoji. So welcome as a member. Oh, Kamala's the worst. I mean, she's just the worst. I've never seen a candidate this perform this poorly. Yep, there's some of the members-only memes right there. That's right. One of the new Trump ones, the JD. There's one of me. Yep, and some other great conservatives. So George Clooney, I thought he was kind of done with politics, but he's talking about what a great person. I know this is crazy, but this is. By the way, George Clooney. When's the last time George Clooney was in a movie that was new that you wanted to see? The last time he was in a movie that was new that you wanted to see. Can you think of one? I did go see Ocean's 11 in the theater. Okay, what year was Ocean's 11? I can't think of one after that I wanted to see. I'm not saying that he hasn't made movies. I'm talking about, 2001. So 23 years ago was the last time he was in a new movie that I cared to see. And I can't imagine many others have cared too much to see any of his new movies since then. But anyway, here is George Clooney, and he's talking about what a great person Joe Biden is. Pretty sick stuff. Listen.
The person who should be applauded is the president who did the most selfless thing that anybody's done since George Washington. And that's true.
Now, of course, is he talking about Donald Trump, who donated his entire salary? Right? He didn't take a salary. Is he talking about Donald Trump, who got shot and then stood up and said, fight, fight, fight? No, he's talking about Biden.
The person who should be applauded is the president who did the most selfless thing that anybody's done since George Washington. And that's true. And so all the machinations that got us there, that's all. None of that's going to be remembered. And it shouldn't be. What should be remembered is the selfless act of someone who, you know, is very hard to let go of power. You know, we know that, we've seen it, you know, all around the world. And for someone to say, I think there's a better way forward, that's all the credit goes to him. And that's really the truth. And all the rest of it will be long gone and forgotten. And so I'm just very proud of where we are in the state of the world right now, which I think many people are surprised by. And I think we're all very excited for the future.
Okay. Now, of course, all that's total BS. Barack Obama, he waited till Jill was in France for the Olympics, so she wouldn't be there on the phone with Joe. Jill is in France. Barack Obama called Biden and said, if you don't step down from running, Kamala Harris has the signatures. They're going to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove you from office, okay? So they forced him out. That's what Trump's talking about, a coup. Tiger, another super chat there from India. More strength to Trump supporters, lesser strength to left forces and establishments. That's right, Tiger. Thanks for the super chat. I mean, come on. They forced him out. They said they were going to remove. That's not bravery. It's not that's self-preservation is what he did, right? He didn't want to be kicked out. George Clooney's out of his mind. You know, it's amazing to me, this guy, because he's famous, he thinks he knows something. I mean, you know, he's been an idiot. Remember when Princess Diana died and he came out and had a press conference and started blaming the photographers? It was the first time he had spoken publicly without a script that was written by like an educated person in front of him, and he sounded like a complete idiot. I saw this article today in the Gateway Pundit. It's a New York Times writer who is from Canada, and what she said is the stupidest. Now she's from Canada, but she works for the New York Times, right? Canadian-born writer Jennifer, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, Szalai, Zaala, I don't know. She had a recent article in the New York Times, and this is the New York Times. She says the U.S. Constitution is a threat to American democracy that is beyond redemption. Now, I don't know what the hell she means, but how can the Constitution be a threat to American democracy? That's what the whole democracy comes from, right? Her article titled, "The Constitution is Sacred, it is also dangerous," suggests that the Constitution may be one of the biggest threats to American politics, describing it as a document that is essentially anti-democratic and, in this day and age, increasingly dysfunctional. See, now this is the whole thing with the left. You know, they started this crap in the 60s and 70s, and they used to say the Constitution is a living document that grows with the times. That is not true. It is not an evolving, growing document. It says what it says, and it doesn't change. They just say that so they can say it says whatever they want. And what they started doing with this 1619 Project crap is what this girl from Canada is talking about. They're saying that the Constitution's out of date, right? It's out of date. So it needs to go away. It's a threat. The reason they consider it a threat at the New York Times is because they're losing everything. This fits into the Supreme Court. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They call it Supreme Court reform, which means packing the Supreme Court. You know, I saw a couple weeks ago a Republican was being interviewed on MSNBC, and they said, "Do you support Supreme Court reform?" Well, no. What do you mean reform? Well, because you're losing, all of a sudden you don't like it. She goes on to attack the Electoral College. She says Americans have long assumed the Constitution could save us. A growing chorus now wonders whether we need to be saved from the Constitution. These people are out of their minds. The document is supposed to be against authoritarianism, can end up fostering the widespread cynicism that helps authoritarianism grow. Oh man, it's a big word. A lot of letters in that word. Of course, when she talks about authoritarianism, she means Trump, right? Because they're losing and Trump's winning, and the New York Times knows Trump is winning, and they know Trump is going to win, and they know he's going to be sworn in January. They know he's going to win in November, and they're done. Okay? All of a sudden, democracy has failed. The Electoral College has failed. The Constitution has failed. Why? Because they're losing, right? I mean, they don't even hear themselves speak. They don't even hear themselves or understand what it is they're saying. To them, that makes sense because, you know, they're in these liberal echo chambers. Now, there was a thing that happened at the Minnesota State Fair. Okay, this is crazy. This was a couple years ago. Did you guys see this with the news? I know there was no American. Well, the thing about, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but you know, this country was founded in 1776. They want to change it to 1619 because people started thinking, well, wait a minute. We didn't bring slavery here. We ended it. The Europeans did. So if they can establish the founding of the United States on 1619, then they can get America to pay the reparations, okay, the United States. This was insane. Listen to this. And I'm going to play you the audio of this. This is crazy. Dr. Scott Jensen ran against Tim Walz in the 2022 Minnesota gubernatorial race. Okay? He's been very outspoken for years against Walz. And he gave this interview. Hold on, let me pull this up. On the last day of the Minnesota State Fair, Jensen appeared on a local news station and was just really exposing Walz, okay? And then, here, I got it queued. Okay, I got it queued up. And then all of a sudden, they cut the feed. They cut the feed. This guy was just going off on Tim Walz, and then boom, the local news feed just cuts off. Listen.
The governor has agreed to a debate on October 28th. You're not thrilled about that.
Esme, you and I both know that that's a sham. Early voting starts in less than 3 weeks. Come on. What's happening is Tim Walz wants to have one debate as late as he can, potentially after 50% of Minnesotans have voted, and say, see, all the major news programs understand that I've had a debate. At this time, 4 years ago, Tim Walz had participated in 4 debates. He's absolutely been shutting them down. He wants to do this one debate so far into, just before Halloween, and you know that he's actually using you to put out his message that I want to debate. He doesn't want.
Boom, and then it just goes to black. He's calling, in the local news, they just cut away and the screen went to black. Got cut off, and then they come back.
Looks like we lost that feed right there.
Oh.
You were just hearing from Dr. Scott Jensen, and we're going to continue to update you online on this ongoing election.
Oh, yeah, I bet. See how corrupt this, well, that's how they do things in Tiananmen Square, right? What do you expect from a guy that got married at the site of a massacre? I mean, who goes and gets married at the site of a massacre other than Tim Walz? Who do you know of who has gone to a place to get married where and goes out of their way to go to a place to get married where not just a massacre took place, but it was an anti-democratic, anti-free speech massacre? Yeah, a Marxist Chinese communist. That's who, exactly. That's who, yeah. AWOL, Tim Walz, that's who. I mean, that's the worst. He's the lowest of the low. He's the lowest of the low. I mean, he's just total scumbag. He's worse than Bernie. Worse. Yeah, the site of the massacre. You know, and I tell people there's that famous picture that everybody sees of the guy in front of the tank. But the tank ran over that guy. That's why the picture's so historic. He stood up to the tank and then they ran him over. Right? Oh, there a lot of good names for Tim Walz. Yeah, a lot of good nicknames in there. I see them. Yep, those are some good names. Some definite good names. Follow the money, as Bongino says. Yep. Now, if you're new to my channel, subscribe. You'll love my channel. I promise you, this is the most pro Donald Trump MAGA place you will ever find anywhere. I promise you that. Now, Kamala has started some new racket today. You may have seen this. She's terrified of questions from reporters. So she's doing this new thing now. Miss Pugsley just subscribed. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for subbing. Kamala, who's terrified of questions, she's got this new thing going on now. When she gets out of her car on the tarmac to go to the airplane, she's got her headphones on, right, connected to her phone. So you can't, yeah, that's right, yeah. By the way, who has a wired headphone that they're talking into in this day and age? Kamala. But she has a headphone in. She can't answer questions. She can't hear. She's busy talking on the phone or listening to music, one or the other. So she just waves. Mullings Girls just subscribed as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Roger M4A1 just subscribed. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for subbing, guys. That's not going to work. She's so weak. Oh, my goodness. Vice presidents aren't like former presidents. Former vice presidents are nobodies. I mean, they don't have any majesty around them. They're nobodies. I mean, if you started naming the vice presidents in reverse, right, you could start with her. How far back until you'd, not be able to go? Presidents, you can go back pretty far. Vice presidents. And out of all of the past vice presidents, and there's quite a few of them alive. Do you even see them on television ever? Do you see them as pundits on the news? Do you see any of the vice presidents? You've got Gore, Dan Quayle, Pence, Cheney, right? Are any others alive? Is Spirit Agnew alive? No way. No way. See, I even got to look. You know when presidents die? No way. No, he died at 96. So which vice presidents are alive? He died at 96. We've got Pence, right? We've got Cheney, Al Gore, and Dan Quayle, right? Are there any others? Not including Kamala. I'm talking about former vice presidents. So there's 4 of them. 4 of them. Where are they? They're nobodies. No one cares about. The only reason Al Gore has anything going on at all is because he started that climate change crap, right? All the former vice presidents are forgotten nobodies, unless they go on to become a president. That doesn't happen as often as people think, and it's certainly not going to happen to Willie Brown's girlfriend, Kamala Harris. They're nobodies. They're forgotten. They don't even have them as pundits on television. I think those are the only ones. We just have those 4. Are there? Did I miss one? I don't think so. I think all the other ones are gone. Yeah. Because before Gore was Dan Quayle. Before Dan Quayle, Bush was vice president. And then before that was Mondale. So Bush and Mondale are gone. Yeah, they're all gone. So we have 4. Nobody cares about them. That's what it's going to be like for her in a few months, right? After Trump's second inauguration. By the way, do you think that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will go to Trump's second inauguration? Do you think they'll go? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Will they go? No. Dukakis was no. He lost. No. No yeses. All no's. Oh, I hope not. Do you really want to see them there? I don't want to see them there. No way. Although it might be fun. It might be fun. Oh, RFK Jr. will be there. Of course I do, Tony. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, Mondale's been gone for a long time. No yeses. Everyone says no. Nope. You're fired. Yes, you're fired. That would be hilarious. I'd love that one. That'd be hilarious. To both of them. Both of them are fired. Biden and Kamala. Ireland for Trump, absolutely. Missouri Bank Fishing, $2 super chat. Thank you. Trump should boot Vance for RFK. Nah, he can't boot. Nah, Vance is great. Vance, JD Vance is the political apprentice. Trump has him completely set up to be the nominee in 2028, unless he screws up, which I can't imagine. He's been so perfect in his life. He's going to be our nominee. In 4 years, I'll be sitting right here on this channel, and we'll be talking about voting for JD Vance. Unless he screws up. Which could happen, but I doubt it. I mean, have you seen the way he handles these interviews? He handles them like a maestro. And, you know, one of the things he does that I really like that JD Vance does, it's Anna, $2 super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He doesn't take their false premise. Like, they'll give a quote from someone, and it's a controversial thing that's, you know, supposed to corner him. And he's like, well, I don't know the context in which that was said, so I can't comment on it, right? You know, things like that. And he's just very good at these hostile interviews, feeding it right back. He is the best at interviews. I mean, he's good. I don't know if he was in the debate club or anything when he was in college. He has a natural gift. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, he's great. Tulsi and Vivek, no. You know, it would not be Tulsi. Although I would not. And he didn't get in on a legacy admission either, right? I would not be surprised if JD Vance's running mate was Vivek Ramaswamy. That would not surprise me. I mean, they were friends in college. He did have a rough life. That's one of the reasons they hate him so much, is because he's not one of the elite, right? You cannot be poorer than JD Vance was in America unless you're homeless living under a bridge. But if you're an American, you could not be poorer than he was. And look where he's gotten. That's right, he can't be bought. He's brilliant. And that's why the American dream, and that's why they hate him. They like people that they control or that are a part of their club. That's it. You know, and he's not either of those, and that's why they hate him, and they'll always hate him. Plus, he's with Trump now, so that even makes it worse for him. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're new to my channel, subscribe. I live stream every day. And, of course, tomorrow I'll be back on the radio. I took the day off the radio because it was a holiday. I'll be back on the radio, and I live stream in the mornings, Monday through Friday, and I take live calls from people listening to me on the radio and people watching me here on YouTube. So you can call me live on the radio. And those of you that are already subscribed to my channel, do me the favor of liking the video. Now, if you'd like to support my channel, great way to do that, go to mypillow.com. Use my promo code KANE at checkout, Kane, save up to 80% off. Now, for the Labor Day weekend, the special is still going on. They have an incredible special on the MyPillow mattresses. My wife and I, we got one a couple weeks ago for 50% off, but you're actually going to get a better deal now. With my promo code KANE at checkout, Kane, 50% off the MyPillow mattresses, plus another $100 off on top of that. It's an incredible deal. 50% off, plus another $100 off of that with my promo code KANE at checkout. Kane at mypillow.com. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next